Hi, this is Peter Russell, Writers and Jacuzzis, peterrussellscriptdoctor.com, all of my various little medias. Guys, today I want to talk to you about what I've learned in writing and selling a mini series because I want to use the fact that I've actually had to be in the marketplace to give you advice. You might as well take advice from a screenwriter who's actually selling today. Yes, so that's what this is about. I want to talk today about television storyline. Now, we talk about TV storyline a lot. And what is a TV storyline? Because this is based on my recent experience learning something as I write a mini series pilot, which is an hour pilot, supposed to be. So, what is a storyline? And why is it so important? And why did I not know all of this before? All of these good questions. If you're writing a TV pilot or any TV show, half hour, whatever, you're going to have in it storylines, probably more than one, yeah, for sure. Unlike a movie, which traditionally has only had two storylines, television usually has at least three and often up to 10 now. That's fashionable. So what does that mean? Well, a storyline is, let's take for an example a show called Ozark, which I love. A storyline is, think of a storyline one way, as a rope you throw around the audience's neck and you pull them in. And if you've got suspense, tension on the rope, then they're going to be watching. But if the rope's slack with no tension or suspense, they're just going to be like, oh, okay, what, rope. Then you pull them back in again, right, with the rope. But often there's slackness in a storyline, yes, and it doesn't really, how often are you bored when you watch something? Well, often you are. What keeps the rope tight, okay? Well, suspense keeps it tight. Things like good news, bad news, ticking clocks, etc. And I've got a whole lecture on that at peterrussellscriptdoctor.com. But what I've learned recently is that storyline is important, really critical in another way. When you have a storyline in a story, think of a storyline question. Every storyline has a question. That's how you should think about your storyline. For instance, in a story I'm working on now, we had a storyline question for a female character, which was, is she gonna seduce the hero? And this storyline question, you want to answer every time you see her in the story. And in a storyline, each time you see her, let's call this storyline sex. Every time you see storyline sex, you've got to be answering the question, is she going to seduce him? Okay? And each time you see her in the show, that question's being answered, and let's call each one of those times you see her in the show like a pearl on this storyline string, all right? Because they're not really beats, that's something different. But let's call it a pearl. It's when you glimpse this storyline question in the story. Whenever she's on the screen then, the question is she going to seduce the hero? And then each pearl, each time we ask that storyline question, each time it appears in the pilot, is a pearl on that storyline string. And remember, the storyline string is a question. Is she going to seduce the hero? So every time we see her, she's answering that question. But here's another critical piece. Each time that question's being answered, is she going to seduce the hero? The answer's slightly changing. It's changing, and it usually changes from no. The first pearl we see on that string, the pearl says no. Then the next pearl, it's no, but maybe. Then the next pearl is no, but really maybe. And the next pearl is maybe. And the next pearl is maybe yes. And then the final pearl is yes. Now, do you see that dynamic across the storyline is part of the suspense that keeps it tight? So when we ask the question, the right question, then we string these pearls along a storyline. And each time you see the next pearl, that question's getting answered a slightly different way. And by the way, every time you see that pearl, a new pearl, it's burnished. It's slightly different. It's been dipped in a different kind of dye, whatever, but it's new. So there's a reversal, there's a surprise in every pearl. Now that is basically what a television storyline consists of. Okay, so know that, think about that, absorb that. Know that there's going to be maybe 4, 5, 6, 7, up to 10 in Sneaky Pete pearls strung on storylines, on 10 storylines across the episode. I know this is a lot to think about, but now I'm going to give you even more to think about. You've also got to ask the right question in your storyline, and sometimes that changes. For instance, in the storyline in question that I've been working on this last week and changing, I realized I wasn't asking the right question because, and as a result, this female character, which is in an action story, and usually they get short shift, right? The females are often just sort of window dressing, and they don't really get developed enough. And because I have folks helping me that are women, and it's easier for them to say, hey, this sucks, we decided, look, we got to make this character's question deeper. And when we decided to do that, we're doing the thing I really want to make sure you understand about this whole thing. When you get to a point in your TV story where you kind of have your storyline string and pearls along a string, you want to take that storyline, isolate it from the other storylines, put it up on a velvet cloth, a whiteboard, all on its own, so you can really just look at that single storyline by itself and say, does each pearl really give us a different burnish, a different reversal of surprises? The audience, when they see the pearl, they're going to go, ooh, that's a cool pearl. Ooh, I want to say, oh, I didn't know. And also, is the string right? And is it slack? My storyline string was slack. What does that mean? It means I wasn't asking the right question for this female character. The right question really turned out to be based on her core wound, which I hadn't thought that much about either, even though I talk about it in my lectures and blah, blah, blah. Look, there's so many things I don't do that I say you should do. And as a selling, working writer, I've had to step up to the plate and go, oh, it's harder to do than I thought. I would so airily say you to do it, right? In my lectures, I'm so confident. Oh, you do this and do that. Well, yes, you do, but it takes a lot. I have to go back to my own lectures often just to see, have I done what I said I should do? And the answer is often no. Anyway, the storyline question turned out to be not, is she going to seduce the hero, but is she going to let the hero love her? Now, once I came up, and I based that, by the way, on the fact that we figured out her core wound was she wasn't lovable. She didn't feel lovable. So with that new question in mind, each pearl along the storyline, each bead, now was about, is she going to let him love her? Which changed and made better each pearl along the string. And remember, every time you put the storyline into the script, every time, every pearl, it's a different, slightly different, more positive answer to the storyline question. Each pearl gives you a slightly more positive answer until we get towards the end, but let's not worry about that now. My head's already going to explode, so is yours. So once we had this new string, it was very taut. Every time we asked the storyline, had a new pearl, it started out with her saying, I won't let the hero love me. Not at all. And so we had kind of a similar action in the pearl, but it was organized around this question, which made her a much deeper, more interesting character and made his dynamic with her much more interesting. She wasn't just a sex bud there. Oh, are you going to screw me or not? Oh, can I get you or not? Instead, it was an emotional question. And then we could answer that question in a slightly different way with each